Eyes on me when I run, stacking wins, I'm never done. On the field, I'm number one. Pressure heavy, weigh a ton. Yeah. Yeah. Sweat drips down off my brow. Every move I make them proud. Haters talk, they love my style. Champions, we stand out loud. Records break when I...
Welcome to the Man United stream. Hope you're doing well, and we are back once again with another show on the very best Man United players, and this time it's the defenders. We've done the show for strikers, we did the show for midfielders yesterday, and today it's all about the very best 4 defenders for Man United. Now, it's gonna be an interesting show, shall I say. An interesting show because there's going to be lots of different defenders that you guys choose and who I choose. Now, for me, I've gone with the criteria that I think is the most important, and of course I've gone with the selection that I've gone with, but there were so many different defenders that I could have chosen. I will mention the ones that could have been in there quite easily. There's lots of names that I've unfortunately not been able to squeeze into this defence, so I only had the choice of 4 defenders. Of course, it was a right back, 2 centre backs and a left back, and I will give you a goalkeeper as well by the end of today's show. So let's not waste any time. Let's jump straight into it and start discussing our number 1 player. And it is for the right back position for Man United. Who was the greatest ever Man United right back? Now, there was lots of choices in this. Lots of choices. I could have gone with quite a few players, but at the end, I reached an agreement with only one, and I thought, right, this guy kind of ticks all the boxes. And it might surprise you, it might not. It might be one of the choices that you would make, and it might not be someone that you'd like. But for me, it's Gary Neville. Yes, guys, ladies and gents, Gary Neville. Yes, the guy who you watch on your TV screens quite often now. You see him everywhere. You can't shut him up, and you can't. He's always there. He's always there and thereabouts. You see him. Sky Sports, I think, isn't it? It's Sky Sports. That's where you see most of him. He's always there. Gary Neville, what a player. What a player. From 1992 to 2011, that era in itself, covering that era, I mean, we know how much Premier League titles, Champions Leagues and FA Cups we won with that team. And this guy was pivotal for us. He was sensational as a right back, not just defensively, but I remember the amount of times he would get up and put crosses into the area, overlapping with David Beckham on the right wing as well. He would just non-stop run up and down that pitch, and it's not shocking. It's not shocking that he has been picked for me. I mean, there's some of you might be saying, well, Gary Neville, what did he actually do? Was he actually good? But let me just go through some of the stats so you know what I'm talking about here. So we know he's played from 92 to 2011, 602 appearances. 602! I mean, crazy amounts of games he played for United. That just tells you how good he was for United. How many games he played. 7 goals. He wasn't obviously a big goal scorer. 45 assists. But he was defensively absolutely outstanding. And look at the list of trophies, guys. 8 Premier League titles. Yes, you heard me right. 8 Premier League titles. 2 Champions Leagues. He was involved in the 1999 and, of course, 2008. Massive Champions League titles. And then we got, of course, the 3 FA Cups and 2 League Cups. I mean, I'm getting tired just reading this list out. He was outstanding. Now, he was very good positionally. He had that sense, knew exactly tactically. He was disciplined and knew when to move up, when to stay back. He was just a legendary player. And that partnership he had with David Beckham, his best friend, and them two were just brilliant. They knew exactly what to do. Beckham didn't have to see where Neville was. He just knew where he was at all times, and just simply they would interchange so well, and that was a very, very important thing for Neville and Beckham. And in fact, Beckham said in a recent interview that if it wasn't for Neville, he wouldn't have been the player he was. That's how important Neville was. And look, he was the club captain at times as well for United. So look, he's done everything for us. So he was definitely going to be in that right back position. I mean, immediately, as soon as I looked at the right back and his name turned up, I was like, well, it's got to be Gary Neville. But then the more I looked into it, the more I looked into everything that he gave to United. Yes, his goal scoring contribution or assists were not up there, but it was just simply not about that. It was about everything he did defensively and how much effort and what he gave to the team and how much he won. It's no coincidence how much he won at that time. He was a major part of the team, and he contributed a lot, not just on the pitch but even off the pitch. We hear that he was very, very vocal. Neville Glitter, welcome. Neville, hope you're doing well. Gary is the reason I made Neville my first name on YouTube. What upsets me about him these days is that he's won everything to win, and he talks like he was an absolute nobody. That is really interesting, Neville, you say that, because he does come across. I think when I look at him interact with Jamie Carragher, who literally did win nothing, right? When he interacts with him, he almost feels like the underdog to me. He almost feels like he kind of like gets bullied by Jamie Carragher, the guy who's got nothing to his name, and he's there giving him shit about like everything. And I'm thinking, what are you doing? You are Gary Neville. Look at the list I've just read through. 8 Premier League titles, 2 Champions Leagues, 3 FA Cups, 2 league titles. You go on and on and on. You were involved in one of the best United teams ever. You played a pivotal part in that team. And you've got Jamie Carragher opposite you, and he's giving you jip. I mean, put him in his place. Put him in his place. So I agree with you there. I love Gary Neville. I'm gonna say it like it is. I love him. Even right now, the stuff he says, the things he does. Yes, he's highly critical of United, but we all are. At times, we get frustrated with United. And as a TV pundit, I guess he has to show his impartiality, and he goes, I think, the extra mile to show that he's independent and he's got no bias towards United, even though he has. We all know he has. But I think he sometimes goes a bit over the top. Apart from that, love Gary Neville. I think he's absolutely brilliant. Really good. Now, moving on. Neville says, a viewer, he says he's very humble, but he just constantly undermines his own achievements. Carrot and Gary have a decent chemistry. They represent the rivalry, so I get why Sky do it, but he needs to give himself his flowers. Yeah, I agree. I think he does at times. I think at times when you start hearing about him, but he is very much someone who kind of goes under the radar. He goes under the radar for what he did for United, because for many people, he's not instantly your go-to player as Gary Neville. But then when you sit down and you look at his stats and what he did for United, it's an obvious choice. And the longevity of his career at United, the amount of games he played for United, that's insane. Absolute legend. That is what makes this guy an absolute legend. And yeah, best for Evra de Ligt. Also, you're Anish. How you doing, friend? Hope you're doing well. So you've gone with Evra de Ligt, Stam, and Mazraoui. Great choices, by the way. Great choices. I'm loving that. I'm loving it. I'm loving it because it's different to what I've chosen, yeah? But all very good names and all could be up there. Could be up there. I mean, Mazraoui, huge fan of him right now. I'm loving everything. And I think if he carries on in the same form and vein he's in right now, yeah, he would be in that discussion. But for me, Gary Neville, I've gone with Jaap Stam is mine. Too niche. Great choice. Jaap Stam, guys. Okay, I'm not gonna. Let's move on to centre backs. We're talking about centre backs. Let's move on to centre backs. It's heating up in here. It's getting hot in here. I've gone with Vidic. Vidic is my first centre back choice. Now I'll tell you why. I'll kind of give you the details on Vidic, and some of you, obviously most of you, will know who he is. And if you don't remember, this is Vidic for you guys. He played for United during the 2006 and 2014 era. Vidic was a brave and solid central defender with great positioning sense, who formed a formidable partnership with, of course, Rio Ferdinand. This guy was an absolute tank. I mean, when you think about top centre backs, you think about this guy. Well, I do. Now, I must admit, Stam was up there. It was either him or Stam. It was Stam or him. I was like, oh, who shall I go for? And I put Stam in a couple of times, and I was like, yeah, Stam. Now, if I was going off my bias, and I'm not going off anything else, but just my bias, it would be Stam. I'd go with Stam. But I had to put Vidic down because I just looked at him and I thought he made more appearances. It was just there for a longer time, obviously played and won a lot more as well, and that was the only reason why. But Stam was one of my favourite centre-backs, just because if he stayed on at United, if he didn't have that fallout with Sir Alex Ferguson, he would have been an absolutely legendary centre-back for us. He was that good. But anyway, coming back to Vidic, let's discuss his appearances, his input to United. So he had 300 appearances, 21 goals. Yes, 21. You heard me right. 21 goals. So he was pretty good going forward as well, with the header, of course, getting them goals. 127 clean sheets, guys. Yes, you heard me right. So listen to this. He played 300 games and he had 127 clean sheets. That's almost half of his games that he played for United were clean sheets. I mean, you can't make it up, guys. I was shocked when I read that. I was like, what? So he's played 300 games and 127 games out of them 300 games were clean sheets. Absolutely amazing. What his titles were, again, it's a long list, so bear with me. 5 Premier League titles from 2006 to 2014. We're not talking a long time here, guys, but he still got 5 Premier League titles. And here we go. He got the Champions League as well. 2008 Champions League final. We won. He was there. 1 League Cup, 1 Club World Cup as well. Added on to all that. The guy was just dominant, aggressive, aerially. He would not be beaten. And the guy was just, he had some balls on him, let's be honest. He would do things that most defenders would be scared of doing. He didn't care. He was just put his body on the line for United. One of the very few players in the Premier League. I think he's just crazy. I think he's won, win Premier League Player of the Season twice. So he won Premier League Player twice. That's crazy in itself. And then, of course, he had another centre-back that was very good next to him. And that's who I went with as my second centre-back. And this is why it became a very difficult struggle, guys, because I was like, Stam, do I go with Stam? Do I not go with Stam? What do I do? And then I had to go with Ferdinand, because I was like, I can't have Stam and then have I can't have Vidic and then have Stam there. And then not have my second choice. So it was quite obvious to me, guys. I went with Rio Ferdinand, guys. Rio Ferdinand. Again, I mean, I still remember the day that he signed for United from Leeds United. And he turned up in his cream white suit. I've had the privilege of meeting Rio Ferdinand a couple of times. Nice fella, nice guy. Speaks really well, really chilled out guy. Gives his time to you guys as well. So, very nice. And the first thing I said to him when I met him, I was like, "Look, Rio, I still remember you wearing that suit that you wore when you first signed," and he just started laughing about wearing the cream suit, and I just found it cool. He just looked cool. He just looked like a absolute legend already in the making. He turned up to United. Of course, he was a lot younger when he signed, but what a centre back he turned into. What a cool, calm, collected centre back. I mean, you had Vidic on the one side. He was just aggressive, out and out, 100% aggressive, just no nonsense type of defender. But he was so well complemented with Rio Ferdinand next to him, because Rio Ferdinand was the suave, really cool, calm and relaxed kind of centre back. Made everything look so easy. Just made it look like he's just out, just cruising. He's out cruising on the pitch. But you knew, I mean, there was no one that could outpace him. His speed was sensational. Boom! He'd just catch up to any striker and just make it look easy. He made defending look easy. Now, the closest I can come to is like, if you ever watch tennis, if you ever watch Roger Federer, right? Roger Federer, I think he's retired now, but the guy made tennis. He made tennis look easy. He just like float around. And I'd liken Rio Ferdinand to Roger Federer when it comes to defensive centre-back work, because he made it look easy. He made it look like he is just coasting and he's in like second gear, whilst everyone else is in like fifth gear going at 100 miles per hour. Ferdinand would be in second gear, just smooth, just coasting around the pitch, just getting the ball off the attackers and just boom, boom, playing it out. So he was, of course, going to be part of my list. I think this was a no-brainer. I mean, with Vidic, I must admit, it was him or Stam. And then, but for me, Rio Ferdinand was just too good, guys. Too good. Rio Ferdinand played in from 2002 to 2014 in a different era to obviously Gary Neville, but he kind of overlapped a little bit. He made 455 appearances, 8 goals, not many as Vidic, but he had 189 clean sheets, and the trophies that he won: 6 Premier Leagues, 1 Champions League, 1 League Cup, 1 Club World Cup, and very similar to Vidic, as of course as well. Absolute legend of a player. And when you look back now and you think, oh my God, did Man United really have these players? I mean, this is crazy stuff, isn't it, guys? I mean, what would we do if we had another Rio Ferdinand pairing like, Nish brought the example of De Ligt, and I think he is another top centre back, and if he can kick on in the next couple of years, he will be in that conversation with the likes of Vidic as well. I think Nish mentioned it. De Ligt is better than Vidic for me. And Neville says yes, Vidic and Stam are 2 I picked. Vidic is one of the most underrated. He was so solid for the team. Everett is a great choice, Niche. Rio Ferdinand was someone I really wanted to include in centre-backs, but if I could teleport Stam and Vidic to this current squad, I would in a heartbeat. I mean, just the thought makes me giggle, because it just gets me excited thinking, can you imagine them two in a defence together? I mean, as a striker or a forward, having to go through them to get a goal, it is a scary thought, isn't it? It's a scary thought. Stam and Vidic. Another true legend of the squad. He seems like a proper nice bloke too. I don't get starry eyes around Slevs, but I think I'd crumble if I saw Rio. Had aura for days. He was with us for ages. Yeah, Neville, he's a nice guy. I think up there with some of the nicest players I've met. I mean, he's laid back. He's a chilled out guy. I approached him. I've seen him a couple of times. But the one time I did approach him, I kind of spoke to him for a bit of time, just kind of had a bit of a chat with him, told him obviously, about him being signed for United and stuff. I didn't know what I wasn't sure what he was taking it as. He was like, "All right, okay," he laughed about it, but then, but yeah, chill that guy. I didn't get overawed by him. I didn't kind of get starstruck. The only time I did get starstruck is when I met David Beckham. And when I was speaking to him, I did actually start talking gibberish. I don't know what come out of my mouth. I just start talking absolute nonsense. And I've never had that ever. Never. I've never got starstruck. But I don't know what happened to me that day. I was actually quite confident when I first spoke to him. I was quite confident, and then got chatting to him, and then I don't know what happened midway conversation, but something hit me where I was like, "Oh my god, I'm talking to David Beckham," kind of thing, yeah. And then I fell apart, but I think I held it together, guys. I held it together, guys. I wasn't, but yes, very nice. Again, Beckham, one of the loveliest footballers you'll ever meet. But anyway, let's get back to the show. Let's get back to the show, which is we've gone through our current defence, the best of the best, and I've chosen Gary Neville, Rio Ferdinand, and Vidic. The viewers, the people in the know as well, experts, Neville and Niche, and the others have chosen Stam. And Niche has gone with De Ligt. So I like that, Niche. I like that. I like the fact, Niche it comes across as a guy who's just confident in what he believes. I like that, Niche. I really do. I like the fact that you just kind of go with it. You go with it. Your no-nonsense approach. I like that. And he's gone with Mazraoui. He went with De Ligt. Who else was it in the centre back? It was centre back. It was De Ligt. Let me see his comment, because that was interesting. He went with Evra, De Ligt, Stam, and Mazraoui. Again, great choices. Again, I mean, that could be another centre back pair or defence that I would be more than happy to go with and say, well, look, that is a very, very good defence. The only two I would still probably say are still working their way there into the iconic or legendary status at United are Mazraoui and De Ligt. I think it's early days, but they are heading the right way. They're heading the right way, and hopefully, fingers crossed, they do achieve the very best at United. I really do. I want them to win titles. Because they deserve it, guys. They are very good. My best two signings in recent history. Seriously, I look at Bayern Munich and think, what the hell was wrong with them? Why did they let them go? But anyway, I'm not complaining though. I'm not complaining. Neville says all-time left back was hard, so I just chose the one I liked the most, and chose Gabriel Heinze. Hard to drop Patrice Evra and Ashley Young, and maybe he wasn't good. I'm going off bias. Okay, for me, it's gonna be a different choice, guys. I've gone with a slightly older left back, someone that you might remember, might not remember, and the reason why I've gone with him, because he was so underrated, but a very, very good player, left back who also could play right back, but he predominantly played left back. I wonder if you could guess. Who I went with, because no one's mentioned him yet. He's an Irish international. Could you guess? Can you guess, guys, who I've gone with in the left back position and why? I didn't get to see much of him. I remember bits of him. Playing. I remember watching him. And Neville, you've got it. It is Dennis Irvin. I think the Irish gave it away, didn't it? Dennis Irvin, guys. Dennis Irvin. Again, someone who is very similar to Gary Neville in what he did for United. Someone who, again, it doesn't come to your mind immediately. Immediately, when I was looking at left backs, before I even saw all the names on the paper, I immediately went to Evra. I thought, oh, Evra was a brilliant left back for United, played really well under Fergie, did wonders for us. Solid left back. And then I was like, okay, Evra. Then I also was looking at others as well. I must admit, Henze didn't come into part of that, but now that you've mentioned him, he was a complete maverick, wasn't he? Complete lunatic. But you knew he was a no-nonsense type of defender. You didn't want to come anywhere near him, because if you somehow get past him, you know what's coming, don't you? You know a two-footed challenge is coming in and he's going to take you out. He didn't give a shit. He was like, right, if you get past me, I'm going to take you out. I don't care what happens. So he was a funny defender to watch. And Ashley Young, I forgot about Ashley Young. Again, a very good left back, a very solid left back. Again, someone that you forget played for United and gave so much time to United. But yeah, very, very good. Let me go and actually go through some of the stats with Irvine, because again, Dennis Irvine, what can I say? Dennis Irvine was brilliant, man. From 1990 to all the way to 2002, he put in another shift for United, putting in 529 appearances, scoring 33 goals in that time, and 50 assists as well. But listen to this, guys. 7 Premier League titles, 2 FA Cups, 1 Champions League in 99, 1 League Cup, 1 Intercontinental Cup as well. Again, that CV is exceptional, isn't it? Exceptional. He was very good, not just at defending, but he was a specialist at taking penalties and free kicks as well. The guy was really good. Do you know, when we think about Bruno Fernandes not getting injured, this is Dennis Irvine. He's the modern Dennis Irvine, because Irvine very rarely was injured and very rarely was out of the team. That's how good he was. And I'm sure, I read in Sir Alex Ferguson's book that, Irvine, it was just exceptional. He loved him. He was like, look, he was brilliant. He was just ever present, ever reliant, always a solid player. You throw him in and he does the job for you. No nonsense. Again, a bit like Gary Neville, went completely under the radar. People didn't give him as much credit as they deserved, because they were doing a defensive duty that most people won't highlight. You know, everyone in football looks at players and they always look at, who's scoring the goals and who's doing all that. But defensively, these guys put in a shift, guys. They put in a shift. So really. So that's my back four, guys. Gary Neville, Vidic, Ferdinand, and we've got Irvine. Them are my 4 all-time greatest centre-backs and right and left back. So that's my 4 defensive players. Midfield we did yesterday, but this is my defence. I would choose this defence in my all-time top 11 Man United players. And I'm going to finish off with the goalkeeper. But before I do that, I'm just going to quickly look at the comments. So Neville says, as soon as he said Irish, great choice. Man, I'd forgotten about him. Almost, it's kind of a shame thinking about that. He was some player. Also, that Vodafone kit will never not be glorious. Yeah, it's crazy. I might go and get. I think I think I might have one of those kits at home. I love the retro kits, man. I love them. I love the Sharp one. I think the Cantona one behind me has got the Sharp logo sponsorship as well. I love that. I think when I first set my eyes on United as a team, they had that kit, and for me, that's iconic, because as a kid, I just remember and think back to whenever I think of United and the old United, that's what comes to mind. The Sharp logo. I don't know about you guys, but that's what comes. You say that was why I loved Heinze so much. Exactly, the no nonsense approach. Yeah, I hope that we're having these kind of conversations about Mazraoui, Euro, and De Ligt in 10 years' time. See future legends in them all. Irvine is such a good shout. Kicking myself still. Look, I didn't come across him. I went immediately to Evra and them kind of players. I was like, oh, Evra, surely. And then when I come down the list and I saw Dennis Irwin, I was like, surely I cannot leave this legend out of my top 11, and that's what I had to put him in. I had to put him in, just not because of what he achieved on the pitch as well, but again, just a really nice person off the pitch. You know, you didn't hear anything negative about him, just kept himself out of the media, out of the limelight, you know, a no-nonsense approach type of player. And so was Gary Neville. You know, now we hear Gary Neville a lot in the media and everything, but when he was a player, you barely heard of him. And in fact, I remember a time when I met Gary Neville. I met Gary Neville and Beckham, and this is kind of embarrassing, to say this right now, but I'll say it. I'll admit, I'll hold my hands up, guys. So I see Beckham walking towards me, and I see Gary Neville walking anyway, but as soon as I see no, actually it's the other way around. I see Gary Neville walking towards me, so he's come around the corner and he's walking past me, and I'm like, you're right, Mr. Neville, you're right. And then he's like, yeah, you're right. He nods to me, Gary Neville does. He nods and walks past, and then suddenly round the corner comes David Beckham, and I'm like, oh my god, I'm like, David Beckham. I just shout it out. I was like, and then he kind of looks over at me, smiles, and then he's walking. He carries on walking, and I'm like, oh shit, I've got to ask him for an autograph. And I go, any chance of an autograph? And then he turns around and stops. He stops, looks back at me, and he goes, yeah, that's fine. This is David Beckham, guys, by the way. At the time, he was playing for Real Madrid. He'd left United, and I was like, oh my god. And then I kind of rushed towards him, grabbed a pen, grabbed a piece of paper, and started talking to him. This is where I kind of went into talking rubbish. But anyway, believe it or not, I've got the autograph of David Beckham, got him to sign stuff, and Gary Neville stood right next to him. And I don't say a word to him. I don't ask him for his autograph. I don't ask for anything. And after the conversation, I'm like, I'm talking to David Beckham here, and I'm like, yeah, you're brilliant, you're this, you're that, I loved you, blah, 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 all that kind of. And then I'm like, see you later, guys. Okay, yeah, see you later, bye. And they walk off. And never did it occur to me that I should be getting Gary Neville's autograph, or I should be getting a picture with him or something. Absolute madness. And now looking back and choosing him for my top ever right backs in the Man United team, crazy. I hope I get to see him again sometime, and I will apologise that he must have felt like an idiot. He must have been like, you idiot, I'm here as well. I'm a great United player as well. You're there speaking to Beckham, who's left United. I'm currently still playing for United, you idiot. Why are you not getting my autograph? Honestly, I felt like an absolute. I look back now and I think, oh my god, that was so foolish. I was young. I was young and stupid. I was like, seriously, how could I not ask for an autograph? And I felt so bad, but I'm sure that happens a lot to Neville. Whenever he's out with Beckham, I think, everyone's talking to Beckham, and everyone forgets that there's a legend standing right next to him who played for United and did all that. But that's why the left and right backs always get kind of looked over, I think. And Irwin, coming back to Dennis Irwin, I think he was another player, another kind of defensive player, left back that we just forget about. You just forget. Everyone else comes to mind but these kind of players, because they just got on with it. No nonsense type of players, no circus around them, no nothing, just got on with it. Neville says, thank God social media wasn't around when we still had Roy. Things could have got spicy. Laugh my ass off. That's some story. Would be struggling to get a word out if was in front of Beckham. Maybe it was you that brought him his self-esteem down. Yeah. No, it wasn't. It wasn't, man. It wasn't. I've thought about that time many times, and I thought, I'm going to have to apologise. Next time I see him, I'm going to have to say to him, look, if I get a chance to meet him, I'm going to definitely say, look, I'm sorry. I am absolutely sorry that I did that. But yeah, it's just, that was the second time I've actually met Beckham. But it was the first time I'd seen Gary. And I look back now and I think, what a stupid idiot. I mean, what would have been going through Neville's mind while I'm stood there in front of David Beckham and telling him how much I love him and how much of a big United fan I am, and that, you know, I'm a huge United fan, David, and you did brilliant with United, and I wish you the best luck at Real Madrid, and blah blah blah, and you're this, you're that, and then. And David's quite calm, by the way. David Beckham is like really relaxed. He's like, yeah, and really nice. What I liked about David Beckham, guys, is that he stopped, but not did he just stop. He stood there until I'd finished the conversation. He listened to all my blabber, all my shit coming out of my mouth, and listened to it. He didn't say, "Okay, shut up, mate," and I'm off. He didn't say any, he just stood there. He stood there listening, smiling, laughing about what I was saying. I was saying a few silly things in there as well. I'm not going to reveal all, maybe some of the time. But anyway, it was just funny. It was funny. It's a funny story to recollect, but it's all down to this list I'm going through today with, of course, Gary Neville. But anyway, let's finish off with our goalkeeper. The show's going on too long. The show's going on, but it's enjoyable to reminisce, isn't it? Goalkeeper, guys. Goalkeeper, there is only one. There is only one, surely. I mean, there was two. In fact, the two names kept coming up. And if we go back further into time, I'm sure there's other goalkeepers that we could bring to the table as well. But for me, for my best 11, it has to be Peter Schmeichel, guys. Peter Schmeichel. I've not even researched his stats or anything. I've not bothered. I've not bothered. There was another Van der Sar. Neville says Van der Sar. Yeah. Do you know what? Before this, I've always been a huge fan of Van der Sar. I've always thought Van der Sar, because he was a lot more calming. And right now, when I play any football game, whatever, EAFC, whatever, FIFA, I always go with Van der Sar in my team. So if I've got to pick between Schmeichel and Van der Sar, I go with Van der Sar. And you're probably thinking, so what the hell are you choosing Schmeichel for in your best 11? It just simply comes down to what he did for United and what he won. And for me, Schmeichel, at the time that he came into United, what he did, the era that he covered, he was just sensational, guys. He was he was just massive. He was massive. He was brilliant, but he just controlled the defense. He controlled the defense. The way he just shouted at the team, the way he just lose it at his defenders. I'd love for a goalkeeper like that. But we have got Sonny Lemons. He looks like a very, very good goalkeeper. But many people have said he's like Schmeichel, but I don't think he is. I think he's like Van der Sar. If I was going to liken him to any top goalkeeper and say who would I think that he's going to turn out to be like, I would say it'd be Van der Sar. And would that be a shame? Absolutely not. Because Van der Sar is almost neck and neck, if not equal to Peter Schmeichel. We were spoilt with them two goalkeepers. Absolutely ahead of the game, ahead of any other goalkeeper that we've ever had. These two guys, legends. They're like twins, as in terms of what they did for United and what they gave to United as a team. United just looked so solid with them as goalkeepers, and we've all gone through a complete shambles in recent times with not having a good goalkeeper, and at times thinking, have we even got a goalkeeper in the goal, or are they just taking shots at open goals here? That's how it's felt like. Neville says, fair play, it's always a toss between Schmeichel and Van der Sar, but unfortunately Van der Sar we didn't have for long enough. Yeah, that was the only reason was Van der Sar we got. I remember he played for Fulham, didn't he? And then I can't remember whether we signed him directly from Fulham, but when we signed him, and we'd gone through exactly what we went through in recent times with having absolute shambolic goalkeepers. I mean, once we lost Schmeichel, I remember we went into an abyss where we just simply could not find any goalkeeper. No one was good enough. We were struggling, guys. We struggled so much in finding a new goalkeeper. And then we finally got Van der Sar. He was 35 years old when he got to United. That's crazy. I knew he was old, but we got him at a time where you thought, is he gonna play well for us? And he was absolutely brilliant as well. It's crazy how much Casper looks like his dad. Sonny Lemons, absolutely Van der Sar vibe, spot on. Yeah, to me, Neville, I look at him and I think he's calm, he's cool, he's collected. Van der Sar was very quiet, but just did his job and did not make any mistakes. And I look over at Sonny Lemons. I'm touching wood, by the way. I'm just hoping that this continues. But his recent start, his debut, and the way he's conducted himself on and off the pitch, it is absolutely Van der Sar vibes. But this time round, we've got him when he's young. We've got a young Van der Sar. And the only thing I look at now and think, OMG, if he carries on playing the way he does, he's going to eclipse everybody, because he's got the skill of Van der Sar, he's got the technique, he's got the ability of Van der Sar, a young Van der Sar, but he's come to us at a young age. Whereas I remember Van der Sar was, he'd played for Fulham, I think he'd gone around everywhere, and then only then did he come to United. But he still was a sensational goalkeeper. So that is my back four and goalkeeper. Van der Sar, Gary Neville right back, Rio Ferdinand centre back, Vidic centre back, and Irwin as my left back. That is my defensive shape. Obviously, I was playing a 4-4-2. Yeah, that is it, guys. That is it. Rory, how you doing, my friend? Hope you're doing well. Yo, when's the next FC stream? Vidic, Bruce, Ferdinand, Irvin, for my top four defenders. Welcome to the show. I will be doing an FC stream hopefully soon. As you've been watching, I struggle because I've gone and selected a very difficult level, and it's not easy. I kind of struggle, and I'm like, this is meant to be enjoyable. I'm meant to be showing off here. I'm meant to be winning easily. But then again, I think it makes it enjoyable when it's not easy to win, and I have to graft, and I have to think about who I'm playing and what formation. But your heads up, Rory, about going out in the Bundesliga and getting some players. I'm going to be doing more of that and bringing in some players, because you can get them for cheap and you can cook with them hopefully as well. Bruce is an absolute top shout, by the way. Okay, Steve Bruce, I forgot everything about him. He was actually down as one of my shortlists, by the way, Rory. And again, it just shows when you can tell a football fan, and you can tell a United fan immediately when they come out with these names. So Enze, Gabriel Enze, again, you can tell Neville is a classic Man United fan, someone who knows his football. And Rory's jumped on and he's dropped in a name, Steve Bruce. Now, there'll be some of us, some of the viewers who've never heard of Steve Bruce, probably heard of him as a manager, but not know him as a centre-back for United. But Steve Bruce, guys, was an absolute legend. Again, someone that could easily jump into that top four and play for United. Again, gave everything he had on the pitch. And if you're looking at a pairing, again, I always look at United defensively, and I look at the pairings, and you always find that there's always two centre-backs in each era. When they click. So you had Rio and Vidic, and Steve Bruce and Pallister. What a pairing they were. Now, they were just slightly before my time, but I was a young kid watching on. I could hear the names Bruce Pallister, and I was like, wow, these guys are no nonsense type of defenders. Very, very good. So you said this is your team. So we've gone through, Rory, we went through the teams. Going through my entire top 11, let's sum it up. So I went with these strikers, and then we'll come back and I'll see your team, because I can see you've written your team down. Steve Bruce and Jaap Stam would be nuts. Oh my God, man. Oh my God. It would be insane. It would be insane. I mean, just imagine facing them two. Oh, it's crazy, isn't it? he is my team, and then I'll go through, Rory, what your team is, and who you've chosen. So I went with Rooney up front with Cantona, although Cantona, you could argue, wasn't an out-and-out striker, but I've gone with Cantona for what he gave to the team, the Maverick, the aura that he had. Then I went with Beckham in right mid. I've played a 4-4-2 formation here, trying to keep things as simple as possible. And then in the midfield, I went with Paul Scholes and Roy Keane. And then left mid, I went with Cristiano Ronaldo. It was a very difficult choice as well, because I couldn't leave Ronaldo out, even though he didn't play much on the left mid, but he went in the left mid. He did play there sometimes, and I could have gone with Ryan Giggs quite easily. And I've had a few comments on the videos saying Ryan Giggs would have been good as well. And yes, I'm not going to dispute that. Anyone who chooses Ryan Giggs, I'm not going to say no to either, because, again, legendary player for United, and what he did for United, clutch player. And then, of course, you've heard my defence and goalkeeper. Let's go to Rory, and he said he would have Vidic, Bruce, yeah, and then it was, let me see, Bruce, Ince, Hughes, and McClare. What a name, man. Robson. I had someone else saying Robson as well. Again, top player. Fergie signed McClare for about 800,000. Yeah, I mean, do you know what? There's so many top players that have played for United, and when you start going down the list, and you start thinking, oh, he's good as well. Actually, he's good as well. Oh, actually, he's good. You could quite easily make at least 4 or 5 crazy teams that would compete in any competition, even in this era, and win every single thing. They'll do a clean sweep on anything. That's how good of a players we've had in the past. And Rory knows his beans. Yeah, look, it is good, man. It is good. I love the fact that we can come to the table and bring these names to the table and say, actually, there was Bruce. Actually, there was this. Actually, there was... And I love it. I love the fact that we've got all these players that we can pick from. And yeah, we can come out with top teams. But guys, that was it. That is the epic showdown, shall we say, of my first top 11. It wasn't easy, and there's lots more. I could quite easily, like I said, have done A team, B team, C team, because there were so many players to choose from, and even go down as a DE team and still have a world-class team. I mean, there's so many names, so many strikers, so many midfielders, and so many defenders that we could have chose from, and we were spoilt for choice. And I'm just hoping, coming back to Nish's comment about De Ligt and Mazraoui and Lenny Yoro as well, and same thing with Neville, if we can just hopefully see these guys go on and progress and turn into icons and legends of the club, we are going to be cooking. I'm going to leave it there. Just finishing off, Rory says, go with Paul Parker on the right, Keane and Robson in midfield, Giggs and Becks on the wings, Ronaldo and Cole up front. What a team. What a team. It speaks to just what I just said about you could come up with whatever team and it would still cook. What a player Paul Parker was, by the way, guys. What a name. Again, he's come out of nowhere. Rory, you're bringing up names that we've forgotten all about. I mean, Paul Parker, what a player. Keane, Robson, we of course know about that midfield legendary pairing. I mean, what crazy 2 midfielders they are. Giggs and Becks, crazy wingers. And then you've got Ronaldo and you've got Cole. Andy Cole, met the geezer, top lad, and what a player he was. A goal machine. Him and Dwight York, that time was just sensational, and watching them two play was just something else. And for keeps, you've gone with Van der Sar. Unfortunate we got him towards the end. Yeah, just as Neville said, and did go with Van der Sar. I think Van der Sar is quite a favourite of quite a lot of United fans because he was just a nice guy. He was just a nice guy, really humble, and he still is. you still hear him speak, and he's just a nice person. And yeah, lovely goalkeeper, and a pleasure to have him, even for that stint at the end of his career. I mean, you could argue, some people would argue that, look, if we got him 5 years early or 10 years early, can you imagine what United would have been like? Amazing. Because we did go through a period where we had complete shit goalkeepers, absolute horrendous goalkeepers. Rory says, I met Brian McClare pre-United whilst he was still at Celtic back in the days. Damn good keeps. Yeah, wow, that's a crazy one. You met him before he arrived at United at Celtic. What a crazy one. Rory, that is, you've ignited us with some crazy names, man. That was crazy. Rory, are you from up in Scotland? And if you are, congratulations with Scotland qualifying as well. I was looking back at the game this morning, funny enough, just watching highlights again, just because I love watching the reactions of the fans and stuff. So it was brilliant, them qualifying. And yeah, that's it, guys. That is it for the end of this series. It's been a joy actually to bring it to you. I'm going to put out, obviously I'm going to condense these live streams and bring them out into a short format, and then put out a video where we obviously, it's a bit more concise, and we kind of we can have other people join in and watch as well. Rory says, now Irish Yankee raised back in the UK now. I love the Irish, by the way, so big up to you as well, Rory. And Neville says, what a history, unreal players we have. Lemons will be a young Van der Sar, I can see it. And Rory, if you're a fellow Scot, World Cup, here we come. Well, the Irish are there, nearly there. I think they were brilliant as well with Portugal, man. I love seeing that. I was cheering them on. I was buzzing. I was absolutely buzzing. Even though, we had Bruno Fernandes and Dalot and the likes of all these United players playing for Portugal. But I just loved watching that game. And just the scenes there just had me rocking. I was just like, get in there, come on. But can't wait for the World Cup. Can't wait for that to kick off as well. But yeah, Neville says, Ireland have to qualify and come up with us. Yeah, it's going to be, and that's our Celtic bros. Yeah, exactly, man, exactly. Travis, you've no idea how loud Glasgow was. Do you know what? It would be a party atmosphere. I mean, it would be mad. It would be mad. I was watching Roy Keane this morning on the Overlap, and he was talking about the Irish and how they've kind of they've gone through a bit of a struggle recently with football, and they've not been doing too well, and this was meant a lot, and how obviously this might give them the edge, and going into the qualifiers, hopefully they can qualify. I love it because look, it kind of, Scotland qualifying, the Ireland qualifying, it will give a different dynamic to the World Cup, and it just kind of gives you more to watch and more teams to follow along, and more of these kind of nights where you can properly have a proper party atmosphere and watch the likes of Scotland and Ireland do well as well. Rory says, man, I was at the World Cup in the US when Ireland qualified. Paki Bonner pulled off the save against Romania. I remember that. Jimmy hats. Neville says Jimmy hats everywhere on the street the next morning. Yeah, it was crazy. Do you know what? Again, it's a party atmosphere. You got to bring the party, and it's the more the merrier. I say the more the merrier, because the more intense the atmosphere, and it makes it more interesting. But I'm gonna be doing obviously World Cup watch-alongs as well, so we'll be doing all that. US had a good team back then. Us had a good team back then. Maleo and is it Lalas? I don't know who they are. I'm gonna be honest with you. I don't know who they are, but I do remember. I remember Ireland doing really well out in the US. So who knows? We have another kind of World Cup run for them and everybody else. But guys, I'm going to leave it there. Rory, I will bring another EAFC career mode update probably tomorrow morning. Watch out. And I'll do another episode because I need to start cooking for him. And do everything there. So anyway, guys, I'm going to leave it there. Take care. Enjoy your afternoon, evening, wherever you are. Make sure you hit the like, make sure you hit the subscribe. You are watching the Man United Stream channel, a channel by the fans for the